On this week's show, we're discussing PlayStation shocking with yet another price increase, everything revealed at the Xbox Partner Preview Showcase, and Nintendo going retro again with a Zelda and a Star Fox remake. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly gaming podcast, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together to round up all of the week's juicy video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Just search for the GamerGuild Podcast or GamerGuildTV and you'll find us there every Monday, 8 a.m. when this show goes live. Your podcast players for the week are myself, Chris at Arcane Rogue, joined once again by the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie. How are you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good. Weekend's here. We're recording this on a Friday night.
Well, if we'd have recorded...
Friday night, I've got a chamomile tea.
I have a Dr. Pepper. Which I read something this week that said it's surpassed Pepsi as the second most favourite drink in the United States. So Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi. But
see, no one actually buys normal Pepsi. Everyone buys like the flavoured Pepsi Maxes because they're good.
Pepsi Max Cherry.
Have you tried the tropical one?
Yeah, I've tried a few, but I always just default back to cherry.
The cherry's good. I do like the tropical one as well. I think there was a mango one before that was good as well.
Yeah, mango, lime, and everything else in between. Keeping it fruity, like we do here on the podcast, Richie, where we like to get into some gaming news every single week for our beautiful audience out there. And we do have a bumper jam-packed show, but before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here, like this very show every Monday, like our weekly live stream drops. This week, it's Resident Evil still. Part 5 is available for free feeds. Everyone out there is a great 2-hour episode. And our Guild Heroes, the fantastic members of the channel, you have the next week's episode 7 days early, just for your own viewing pleasure, for supporting us that extra little bit further, just like you all can from as little as 99p or $1.99 if you're feeling shiny. Richie, we like to start every single show this week by talking about what we've been playing in the past 7 days. So do share, what have you been up to? Aside from decorating, what video games have you been digging away at?
Well, the decorating has taken quite a bit of time. So some of my evenings I've spent like getting in from work and then doing a bit of decorating and then sitting down just watching a bit of TV. So I haven't played a lot this week. So I've just been chipping away at my Brotherhood of Steel playthrough on Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably in the mid-section of the story where I'm starting to get together to like find the Institute, who are kind of the big bads of the of the game. So, but there's a point where you have to build a molecular relay. But because I've skipped pretty much all the settlement building and stuff on this playthrough, I have no resources. So I was like, I'm going to have to do a bit of, I think I'm going to have to do 1 or 2 Minutemen quests to get a few settlements to steal the resources from them settlements so I can build my molecular relay. Because I've just got nothing.
Is this where mainlining starts to backfire a little bit?
It's a small detour required, but still faster than if I like allow myself to get bogged down. But, yeah,
that's good.
But it's once I've got through this buildy bit, which isn't actually that. It's not going to be that hard. It's probably just like an hour or two.
Yeah.
To get there, then I think it's probably main story to get into near the end before I can do some more like major like Brotherhood of Steel story quests before I can go back to finish the main story.
Right. Oh, sounds good.
And there's 2 out of the 3 endings I need for that'll be 2 out of the 3 endings that I need for the platinum done.
Just a casual 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3.
Well, but because my girlfriend's save didn't break as much as mine, she's actually got the platinum. Where at one point I was definitely ahead of her, but because I've had to start all the way from the beginning, where she could just go back to a fairly late game save and make a few different choices, she managed to get like the few endings done in like basically an evening or 2.
Wow.
Whereas like, I've got a week or 2 to catch back up.
Tactical saves. Yeah, I'm currently playing through Resident Evil Requiem, as I said last week after my Crimson Desert foray. But I put about another 5 hours into it and thought, right at this time, I would rather dedicate my gaming time to playing something that I genuinely like enjoying. And Resident Evil, for whatever rhyme or reason, I finished that campaign and was like, I kind of just want to go through it again. which it's a testament to the arcade. You know, I think I might have mentioned on when I did my kind of review breakdown is that it hits a part of the game when it turns it almost into an arcade style game where you get combat points for like certain enemies you kill and you can spend them upgrading your weapons, and it takes a very different pivot from like the first third of the game almost. And for better or for worse, when I finished it, to go back all the way through with certain kind of add-ons, it's quite interesting. So I've done another playthrough to basically doing a no heal run where you don't use any herbs the whole way through. At the same time, I did a run where you don't basically Grace in the game as like a blood collector, and you collect blood as samples from the zombies, which helps you craft certain items to take them down. And you can do a full run without using the blood collector. And I did two at the same time, which was what the internet recommended I do. I tried to go for the speed run, which was under 4 hours, and I clocked in at about 5 hours. So I need to trim the fat quite a lot on a speed run. But I'm doing one of the little puzzle secrets to basically unlock enough combat points to unlock infinite ammo, and then I'm just going to go to town on the bitch. I'm thinking I'm just going to save my speedrun until I've got unlimited ammo, and I'm not going to be scared, and I'm just going to run through basically the whole game guns blazing, not hiding in a corner, which I've been doing. My first playthrough, bear in mind, was 16 hours. So it was 16 hours down to 5 with my first speedrun attempt. And then, yeah, I think once I've got unlimited ammo, it's going to be trimmed right down. I think one of my colleagues at work did it in like just over 3. And I know a few people in our Discord did it like sub 3 hours. So it's possible, but...
See, I like what they've done, because it is, when you think about it, if you can complete the entire game in 16 hours, that's not a big game by modern day standards.
Not at all.
But by adding interesting ways to replay the game, like speed runs or specific challenges, it does pad it out. Metal Gear Solid Delta was something similar. Unfortunately, one of the challenges was just stupid. Like, there was too many. Like, you're taking it too far. Then each of these components individually is fine. All of them together, it's just not. It's not fun.
Yeah, agreed. And it like you said, it's a testament to how the game it didn't overstay its welcome. So actually going back and playing the campaign immediately after, it didn't feel bad. But because of the style of survival horror and Resident Evil in particular, once you've kind of figured out where the puzzles and stuff are to find, it's no surprise you can trim a lot of the time down, because a lot of it is through exploration, hiding and avoiding enemies, where actually, if you know which particular room you're running directly to, you can cut out a lot of like random searching and hiding.
It's paying attention to the story, exploration, getting lost in the atmosphere. But if you remove them, suddenly you're knocking 10 hours off your playthrough.
Yeah, and it's actually, it's wild how I've gone, because I'm on like my 4th playthrough essentially now, how I'm not scared of anything. Like all the enemies that scared the shit out of me in the first playthrough and I was like wary of and hiding, now I kind of know the way they move and the way like their footpath loop. So like where they pop up and where they hide. All the jump scares, I'm like, I know what's around this corner. I know what to expect here. And I'm able to kind of just duck and dodge. And I'm actually conserving so much ammo because I realise now, I'm like, I don't need to even attempt to kill one of the zombies. You can kind of just like jog around them. And as long as you're quite tactical about it, you can go and skip rooms. You can hop over certain parts of furniture to get past like 2 or 3 at a time. And a lot of them aren't that quick, actually. So it's interesting how it's came about. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And I think I'm pretty much speed run and play it on insanity mode, which again with infinite ammo I don't think is really going to be an issue. I'll just have an infinite RPG and just blow up their ass for every single level.
Nice.
It'll be my first Resident Evil Platinum, and actually I'm very looking forward to getting back around to do my remakes, which I promised of 2, 3 and 4. So full circle moment, and thoroughly enjoying it. So and again recommend it to anyone out there I think who's looking for a solid AAA game this year. It's definitely up there in my Game of the Year discussion straight away.
Sounds good.
It is indeed. Right, Richie, we do have a busy show for everyone out there with some actually good news and bad news. It was going to be one of them weeks, I think, when we were building the doc, we thought, oh, is there going to be one positive story in the world of gaming this week? But thankfully, Nintendo seemingly have came in clutch with a heavy rumour. But before we get into all that, could you introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, a.k.a. The News.
The News. And as always, the news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members who support us that extra little bit further, just like you can, from as little as 99p all the way up to the top tiers, bronze, silver, actually bronze, shiny bronze, silver, gold and platinum. Forgot what precious metal came after silver then for a brief second.
Why does shiny bronze sound like a Pokemon remake?
It is. It's a shiny bronze, and you can collect it too from $1.99. As we mentioned before, early access to the Resident Evil playthroughs, early access to other content, and some special videos up on the channel right now. Stickers and badges next to your name in the chat. But more importantly, you help support us, get this out on free feeds. All those dirty podcast listeners on the commute to work, we're talking to you. Thank you for everyone's support through and through, though. Because without your support, Richie, we couldn't be able to afford hardware, specifically the next PlayStation, it would seem, because the PlayStation blog dropped this Friday afternoon announcing new price changes for the PS5, PS5 Pro, and the PlayStation Portal Remote Player as well. Reading from the blog, prices are effective from April 2nd, 2026. This is from Isabel Tomatis, the Vice President of Global Marketing, and she says, with continued pressures in the global economic landscape, we've made the decision to increase the price of the PS5, PS5 Pro, and PlayStation Portal. Globally, we know that the price changes impact our community, and after careful evaluation, we found this was a necessary step to ensure we can continue delivering innovative, high-quality gaming experiences to players worldwide. The updated recommended retail prices are effective from 2nd of April in the following territories. We'll go with UK just as a general consensus because that's where the bulk of our audience is. PlayStation 5 going up to £569.99 for the base PS5. I actually don't know what the original prices were, so I don't know if you're able to get them as it stands. Richie.
I will find them.
The PlayStation 5 Digital Edition, that's the one without the disc drive, it's coming in at £519.99. And the PlayStation 5 Pro is gone up to a whopping £789.99. So that is just £10 short of 800 Great British pounds for a game console. Of course, it is varied across regions, United States and stuff as well. So that was for the consoles. And then just to add on at the end there, the PlayStation Portal Remote Player, which has been just under £200 at $199 for its entirety of its existence for the last couple of years, is now going up to £219.99. So about a £20 increase across the board on that one. Richie, we now live in a world where if you buy a games console day one, you can hang on to it for a decade and potentially even turn a profit if you sell it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay. Because that's the world we live in now where, for some reason, gaming hardware just can catch a break in between the turmoils of the world and geopolitics and everything. And the biggest irony I've found is I listen to a lot of American podcasts stateside, and I kind of feel like just pointing the finger at their leader is the biggest culprit in all of this disruption that's going on across the world.
Part of the problem is I know a lot of the podcasts you listen to, and a lot of these people are very vocal against their leader.
Undoubtedly.
So you can't pin this all on Americans.
No. And I never would.
Because actually,
Russians as well.
Yeah. But it's not just war. I think it's AI is another big player, and we are literally talking about a £90 price increase here.
Yeah, is it 90?
This is not it's not another £10 or another £20. 90 quid.
90, so nearly £100 increase.
Yeah,
so
it is $100 in the US, I think, actually.
So if you buy it this week compared to next week, you're going to save £100. So
if you're on the fence about buying a PlayStation, anything in the PlayStation hardware, go for it now, because it's going to be next week. It's going to be £100 extra.
There was a brief.
It just sucks.
There was a brief moment where I thought, do I trade in my PS5 for a PS5 Pro? Just because if I wait, like, not that I need it, but you just think like it kind of makes financial sense to get it.
Part of the problem is, although this is PlayStation changing the MSRP. Mm-hmm. As soon as this news is out, there's nothing stopping retailers just upping the price immediately. No,
not at all. Because
So honestly, by the time you've heard this, if you walk in the shop, it's probably changed price, because they might be able to capitalize on a couple of weeks of price gouging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
that's the world we live in.
They'll take more profit, right?
Sucks.
And all they'll do is they'll fall back on. If you look at the Sony blog, Sony, the manufacturer, is upping its prices, and then that's it. You've got nothing to fall back on. And then it's the kind of knock-on ramifications in like just the rest of the business, isn't it? Like that impacts everybody who trades in PlayStation, trades on the high street.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem this is we are going through kind of a semi-global cost of living crisis, which doesn't seem to be alleviating, has been going on for quite a while. And it seems anytime things seem to just be starting to tail off, well, then COVID happens, or like Trump declares war on Iran, or threatens Cuba, or AI takes over the world, makes a massive shortage and at the moment specifically RAM, which makes the price of RAM go through the roof.
Ramageddon.
So this is why you should tell AI companies to fuck off, because it's making your PlayStation more expensive.
Yeah. Just
if you needed more reasons, there you go. But also, Sony, fuck you. You can take a profit hit. You will still be profitable at the previous prices.
Yeah.
You're protecting your insanely high profits. There's this thing in business where companies at the moment seem terrified of not making record profits. It's like, actually, guys, you can, as long as you're still profitable, that shouldn't be a problem. And if it is, you need to look into who's investing in your company.
It's that benchmark of capitalism, which seems to be the issue at the moment, isn't it? Is these companies
always needs to find a way to make more and more money. And if you stop making more money, but you're still making money, then that's a problem.
Yeah,
it's fucking nuts. It's going to break.
It is. It's all these tech companies have just been seen growth upon growth since the 90s for the most part, with the boon of just technology and in general, and consumerism kind of going global as well with like the rise of Amazon.
It's hyper-capitalism. This
yeah.
is not normal.
And
it's not normal for a company to be terrified of not making more profit this year than last year.
I was talking to someone actually at my workplace this week about the ultimate sad irony, Richie, that hardware prices going up and up and up, physical media going up, but that's another story for this week. And in the palm of our hand in 2019, we had Google Stadia and Amazon Luna a few years later. Don't need hardware, you just need a controller and internet, which you probably already have to play the games that you love anywhere that you want to be. And what did we do? We slapped them down. Well, not we collectively, but the world in general went, nah, it's not for us. We'll stick to our hardware, our low latency hardware, all that kind of stuff. And now we're here 6 years on. You're paying nearly £900, upwards of £800, £900 for the top tier. Another implication of all this, which I've seen a few people talking about, is the Steam machine announced last year, got lots of hype and buzz. It was supposed to come out in spring. We're now in March and we've not really heard anything more about it. Pricing, rollout, launch date. Do you think the kind of Valve are starting to get maybe a bit cautious of this? Because if they pull the trigger on a launch, there's no working that back other than loss. You got to imagine these things are deep in manufacturing at the moment. Like, what a world to launch a new product in, right? You're finally going to step into the, I guess, hybrid console/home market. And everything's on fire.
Well, if you look at how bad inflation is, literally, I'm looking at the PlayStation Wiki, so I'm going to quote in euros because I can't find pounds. I was looking for the initial cost of the PlayStation when it first came out.
Probably
so the base PlayStation,
I think.
so this not the digital, not the Pro, was €499.
Right. Yeah, about 450 quid. That's what I think I paid for mine.
Yeah. 499, so it's €500.
Yeah,
it's now €650. €150 inflation in 5 years.
That is not the rate of inflation, is it?
That's insane. Like,
yeah, but then on the flip side, in terms of like just you said the general economics of it all, my wage will probably go up by a few percent this year. But we were discussing in our friends group, like my council tax alone has eaten probably whatever wage rise I've got this year, but then that doesn't factor in gas, fuel right now. If you have to fill up your car, it's an insane amount of money.
I've always made an argument for like businesses should be, by law, have to put up prices in line with inflation. But the problem with doing that, actually, that's undervaluing your service. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, inflation doesn't apply instantaneously on April the 1st. Yeah. It's slowly getting applied across the year while your wage is flat. So then you get a massive... So your wage may take these big jumps, but the inflation is getting applied gradually. So you're actually losing out, even if you're get a pay rise in line with inflation. That just means that your pay is now corrected for where it should have been.
It's just all keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, so it's just... There's nothing good here, unfortunately. It's like... it's such a, literally, if you think about it now, me and you have bought a PlayStation 5 base version, disc version, and the PlayStation Portal for roughly the same cost that a PS5 disc version would cost you now. There's probably a 50 quid swing in there, but
but then the depreciation
give it a
stuff,
few, but then you just give it a few months. Like,
what are your thoughts on the Portal? I always thought the Portal was actually underpriced for what it was. I think the Portal could have genuinely sold for probably $250.
Personally, I thought the Portal was priced perfectly. That $199 keeps it under that 200 mark, and it is just a remote player. So when it first came out, it was limited. There's more functionality in it now. It's got a bit more cloud game support. But when it first came out, $199, but you had to have, and it basically tied up your PlayStation. So it's basically similar to the Wii U gamepad in a weird kind of way.
In a glorified way,
Yeah, it kind of is. If you think about it, it's like, okay, it's a better version of it, but that's the kind of tech we're talking. I thought that was a nice price point, and now it's added with full cloud game support. I think the $250 is fine, but if you keep pushing that up, it starts getting pricing people in the market as this as a supplementary thing. When especially in the adding the cost of a base PlayStation now or PlayStation Pro, it's like, well, you're pushing gaming through consoles into the realm of wealthy people, where the big selling point of consoles was because these are mass produced, you could get games running almost comparable to PC at any given time point, but they're much cheaper. But we're losing that edge now.
It's really just like, I feel for people who like want to game, but then they're really almost being priced out of it. I've seen plenty of comments, even just today, of people on social media saying like, I genuinely feel like I'm being priced out of my hobby. And hobbies usually aren't cheap anyway. They're usually something you do extra on the side. But as far as gaming goes, it's in our lifetime, it's done nothing but creep up. And like I said, some of the prices we've just talked about, it's kind of wild. Like the core price of just a game now, and then the hardware.
I've cut back on my my gaming subscriptions.
Same.
Because of price creep. So I don't have a PlayStation Plus membership. I don't have Game Pass membership. I don't currently have a Switch Online membership, because I was like, well, these will come up to renew. I was like, I'm not currently playing anything, so I'll just cancel it, and I'll get it back when I need it. The Switch, when I want to play a Switch Online, anything on Switch Online again, I probably will pay for the year because it's relatively inexpensive compared to the other two for the annual pass. But I've already cut them. I'm not buying games day one anymore unless it's something I'm absolutely 100% playing day one. So I haven't bought Crimson Desert as much as I was interested in that game. It's like, you know what? I'm quite content with Fallout 4 at the moment. I'm enjoying myself. I'll wait till I finish Fallout 4, then I'll buy it. And so the way the industry's gone has actually changed my habits, because otherwise I probably would have pre-ordered Crimson Desert.
Well, you can borrow mine if you want. To say the least.
Well, that's cheaper.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a sign of the times. I know there was rumors last week actually it was this week, the Switch 2. Nintendo have cut back the production by about 30% as well. Now, that one I don't read too much into, about the fact that like, they're not going to sell as much. I think that is just like most big platform holders, like they make an initial massive batch of production for their initial launch year, where they have like a massive boom, the most interest, the most marketing, the big games are out, they've had their Christmas period now, and I think when they say they're reducing their output by 30%, it probably means that the kind of initial demand is settled past launch. So it doesn't mean they're selling less or they don't expect to sell less. They've not reduced their revenue projections. They've simply said we are not making as many, because they probably have warehouses now stocked full to see demand through till probably 2027.
And even if it is selling less than expected, it also comes down to the killer apps that are coming out on Switch. So we haven't got a new generation of Pokemon. Pokemon ZA is cross-gen.
Pocopia is going to be a sleeper hit, I think, but you're right, main entry.
Pocopia is cross-gen, isn't it?
No, actually, I think it's only Switch 2.
Switch 2, okay. So that could be a system seller.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong, I think, is only Switch 2. But there's actually quite few Switch 2 only games.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, do we need to get a new Switch 2 just yet? The Switch 2 is going to be fine. I don't think it's going to sell the same numbers as the original Switch across its lifespan, but it will be absolutely fine. But there again, you never know, because should we go into talking about this stuff for the Switch 2?
Yeah, I mean, talking about killer apps, the second news story of the week brings us on to some good news, I'm sure, as far as you're concerned as well, Richie. Reading from Video Game Chronicle, Nintendo is planning a new Star Fox and a major Zelda remake for this year, but no 3D Mario on the horizon still. Remember that the Mario team put out Donkey Kong Bonanza, so you're probably going to wait a little bit while, but we'll get something in the middle. But yes, they're apparently looking at putting them out on the Switch 2 some point up until probably financial year 2027. That's according to Nintendo insider Nate the Head. He's done a few plays. He's actually got quite a lot recently correct in terms of PlayStation State of Plays, Nintendo. So he's got insider knowledge. In his podcast, he revealed that a classic Star Fox revival is planned for the series on Switch 2 this summer, hot off the heels, we should point out, of Fox McCloud having a cameo appearance show up in the latest Super Mario Galaxy movie trailer.
That should have kept that secret.
Yeah, actually in the movie. It's one of them annoying internet things, isn't it, where like if they get it out, it can go viral, so they benefit more from just spoiling the story than keeping it for fan service.
It's the Marvel problem.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. But voiced by Glenn Powell, which if you're not too familiar with him, he's been in a lot of movies recently. He's kind of the new big action star from Hollywood. He was in the Twisters movie. He was in Running Man, the Arnold Schwarzenegger remake that happened last summer, I think. I think it's quite decent, actually. I've enjoyed everything I've seen him in. And he was in Top Gun, the second Top Gun Maverick movie as well. He was one of the kind of ace combat pilots. So it's kind of fitting that he now plays Fox McCloud in the movie. So yeah, his kind of good string of form continues seemingly into this. But yeah, he's going to be back in the summer. We're getting a new game in the near future. He's been told it's a classic Star Fox game. Where are you at with the whole Star Fox Nintendo?
Star Fox, it's I've always been a fan of Star Fox. Admittedly, I've only really played one game, and that was
64?
Violet Wars.
All right, okay.
Or Star Fox 64 for...
That's the only one I've played.
Yeah, and loved it, played it to death. Would probably still enjoy playing it now, to be perfectly honest. Interesting cast of characters, cool story, but it's an on-rail shooter.
Yeah.
A style of game that I don't think does well now. So it'd be interesting to see if when they say classic Star Fox, that makes me think, is this going to be like an on-rails kind of thing or semi-on-rails kind of thing? Yeah. How do you handle that? How do you make a modern iteration of that style of game? Because just seeing your R-Wing just fly forward all the time is probably a bit boring.
Yeah, I mean, we even seen it with like what was it called? Star Wars Starfighter? No, it wasn't fine. Star Wars, they put out a game, didn't they, that was just like you were purely just ship combat. And it played well.
Wasn't it a VR thing?
It was VR as well, yeah. You could play it in VR or first person mode. But you only really got out your ship to walk around the hangar, and then the rest of the time was the ship. And it was like, it wasn't a bad game, but it didn't really sell that well. And that was with a Star Wars IP. I think in terms of modernization, I think the concept is cool. I like the thought of the kind of like a rogue fighter pilot and his team of crazy friends. Very similar to like Sly Cooper in terms of like the cast of characters. But I do think what you're saying, I think it needs like a Ratchet and Clank-esque reboot where it needs storyline, some 3D platforming elements maybe, and then
I'd
mix
stay
in.
away from that.
Would you?
They've done that before.
have they?
Star
Okay.
Fox, yeah. And to be honest, some, but don't double down. Get these guys. You want these guys in the R-Wings, in the like the land cruiser tanks or whatever. I can't remember the name of all the different ships and stuff that you can play through, but
Just go through the alphabet, don't you? R-Wing, T-Wing, X-Wing, Y-Wing,
it's
copyright wing.
It's what you basically want to do is, I think you kind of need to keep this towards like a more arcadey flight sim kind of vibe, rather than don't turn it into a 3D platformer. You can make a 3D platform, but when they say a classic Star Fox, I'm not thinking a 3D platform in the slightest.
Interesting. I mean, I trust Nintendo to do it. They've done it 100 times over.
Well, if they're making a new Star Fox, it's probably because they have a good idea for a new Star Fox. Because Nintendo don't make games in the franchises unless they have a good idea for it.
Yeah. Fair play. And the other part of the story is, in its place of not having a Mario 64, they're looking at the N64 classic Ocarina of Time. This will possibly coincide with the Zelda 40th anniversary, which is it's claimed. Well,
the 40th anniversary is technically past, but it is the anniversary year. So.
Yeah, they do that though. Remember when they had the year of was it year of Luigi? Yeah. So like they kind of play fast and loose with it in terms of that. What would you expect to see out of Zelda then, Richie? Ocarina of Time's your favourite, right?
It's definitely up there, probably, yes. You need to be true to the story, but if you're just going to make the same game but prettier, I don't see... That would still work. But I feel, again, it's another game that probably I want to see a modern take on it. You know how Resident Evil remade some of the games where it's like, this is a modern take on the original concept. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing I want. Like things like Hyrule Field needs to just be. It needs to be more stuff to do, more engaging. Because when on the N64, bear in mind one of the first ever 3D games I ever played, that moment when you leave the forest, go to Hyrule Field, like, oh my god, this feels like a massive open world.
Yeah,
it's actually only a small world. With not much in it.
Yeah,
it's that experience that you want to have again.
Yeah.
Don't make it. I think truthfully, don't make it look like Breath of the Wild.
Right. So they need
to make it visually distinct.
Right. And the last time this was remade, I'm guessing
it was on the 3DS.
Right. Yeah. 3DS. And then, in terms of the Zelda just franchise as a whole, which ones have we had remake recently? We've had because they've gone with like slightly different art styles for a few of them, haven't they? We've had a couple. I know you've played probably all of them.
Oh, I don't have my Link's Awakening poster. My Star Wars Map of the Galaxy replaced my Link's Awakening poster. That's why.
Blasphemy.
So Link's Awakening got a remake on the Switch. There was a kind of semi-retelling of A Link to the Past for the 3DS, but it was also a kind of different game kind of thing. They used the same map but made a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Probably about 30 years between games. And that for remakes, that's about as far as it goes, actually.
Interesting. So they've got plenty in the tank to mess around with and do stuff for many, many years to come. I think I'm on your side where I definitely think from watching your playthrough on the channel, still available now, whole playthrough is there. It could do with some modernising, I think. And like I said, I think if they did the Resident Evil treatment, not like 6 zombies and stuff in it, but adapt it and maybe flesh out certain parts and broaden the scope a little bit, or maybe refine the scope a little bit on certain key elements to enhance the story, I think that would go down well.
There is probably scope for expansion in Ocarina of Time without ruining the story, and space to have more side content in the game. So it could be quite an interesting thing. But then it's like, for things like the dungeons, how true do you be to them? Do you stick exactly to the same full layout, or do you expand the layout a bit?
Or were the puzzles quite simplistic, would you say, by today's standards? Or
some of them, yes. There's a lot of sliding block puzzles, unfortunately.
One of the things that I would like them to do is take out, when the characters in the world talk about the button prompts as though they're like a real thing in their world. Where it's like, hey, Link, press B to do this, and it always takes me out of the immersion a little bit. But I know it's a sign of the times where I don't think you really get it in modern game. Like, it may show up as an overlay, but like the in-world characters acknowledging the existence of a controller, it's always funny to me, and it always will be.
It's such a Nintendo move, though, so I can't
press the start button. Link, it's like he stood there in a forest, going, "What the hell do you mean? What does that mean? Press the start."
I'm thinking more the things I'd want them to stay away from compared to the modern like
Battle Pass,
like Zeldas. Stay away from that shit. No one wants it. You could do Master Quest as like a season pass, when the game was re-released in the GameCube, it came with a Master Quest, which basically was the game on hard mode and mirrored the entire world, but then reconfigured all the dungeons.
Right.
So that could be a cool like DLC for a game if you want to go that way.
Yeah.
But I want to stay away from things like weapon durability and stuff like that. That's boring. No one liked that. Well,
it would certainly sell well. think it was, 1998 the first one came out, and it's definitely probably one of the most beloved games of all time, even 40 years later. I think it'll always have that place in history.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If this is this is probably the game I'm buying a Switch for.
Right. Oh, interesting. Well, if you buy it now, it might be cheaper. It keeps saying the Switch 2 could be $1,000 by the time Christmas rolls around if we're not careful.
Well, I've always said I'm not going to buy a Switch till my house sale goes through. At one point this week, as in like last week when you listen to this, my house was scheduled to be sold on the 27th.
Wow.
But that unfortunately fell through. So the sale's still on.
Yeah.
But the date slipped. I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes. When I got that call from my solicitors, like, ugh. Yeah. I was expecting the call to confirm that was all going through in time. I was like, ugh.
Typical. But just what you want heading into the weekend. If only your house prices went up, just like console hardware. But thankfully, we got some games to kind of pad out the hardware news this week, as Xbox hosted a partner preview event, similar to our kind of PlayStation Plus partner events and the Nintendo partner indie showcases and such. Basically, Xbox had about half an hour worth of showcase to take us through and break down some games coming to Xbox. A lot of them to Game Pass, quite frankly. I think they showed off 14 games of the 19 are coming to Game Pass. So if you've got Game Pass currently, if you're looking ahead, you're probably going to save some money across the board on those ones, because this episode's clearly turning into a financial balanced episode. But
we can't help that.
You can't, no, you can't. But we'll go through the partner preview blog over on the Xbox Wire, and we'll talk about them in varying levels of depth, because I think overall, it's been deemed as like an average showcase. That there was no big first party stuff. There was nothing really overly new that was brought to the table, and I think we've said this about PlayStation, Nintendo's in the past, of that these showcases are very much feel like contractual obligations to their publishing partners to say, we will talk about your game on our platform to get more eyes on it as the platform holder, and that's very much, to me, what this felt like. Like, not great, not bad, but just middle of the road.
It kind of just felt a bit of, yes, and these games are also coming out.
Yeah, pretty much. So first off, we got new from Rebellion Studios, who are the guys who did Sniper Elite and Atomfall. They're bringing us Alien Deathstorm, an atmospheric first-person adventure where second-to-second survival hinges on responding to a monstrous, constantly shifting threat of a storm blasted off-world colony. In the world premiere, they showed off a glimpse of a settlement ravaged by violent weather conditions and terrifying alien creatures. When figuring out they evolve quickly in the fight for survival. So again, this is coming to Xbox, Xbox Cloud, Xbox Game Anywhere, and Game Pass. I quite like Rebellion. I always enjoyed Sniper Elite. Atomfall was always really, really good. What did you take of this initial trailer?
Oddly enough, I think this was one of the kind of standouts for me, because
Same.
I was getting the opening few seconds. I was kind of getting a bit of Doom vibes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which is a good. Absolute good thing. Then Rebellion came out and went, this looks actually really good for a Rebellion game.
Yeah.
When you think of things like, what was it? Strange Brigade.
Yeah, I enjoyed Strange Brigade as well.
Me too.
The Rebellion games we've played, they've always had a really fun gameplay loop.
Yeah, I feel like this is somewhere between Doom and Alien Isolation.
Yeah. It's definitely
that's not a bad place to be.
It's not, and I think Rebellion, who's been probably a AAA developer for most of their existence now, I think between Zombie Army and Sniper Elite, which are fun games, like I said, they've never graphically pushed the board out necessarily, but then Atomfall came out last year, and Atomfall was very, very different, and I like them pushing new IP. This is their second new IP they've had in as many years, and like you said, graphically it looks fun. It's got a mixture of, like you said, that kind of Doom, Dead Space, but hopefully with that Sniper Elite, Zombie Army kind of frenetic shooter fun. And like I said, I think it looks really good.
When it comes to enemies, we've only seen one, and that's why I liken it to Alien Isolation. It was giving me very much the Xenomorph vibes. It looks like I get the impression that it was hunting you.
Well, funny you should say that, Richie, because Rebellion, before they did the last couple of entries, back in 2010, they did make Alien vs. Predator for the PS3, I want to say.
I wouldn't be surprised if this started off life as an idea for Alien Isolation 2. But then maybe for IP reasons, it morphed into its own thing.
Yeah.
But we've seen we've only seen what is it, 2 weapons I think in the trailer. I'm just flicking through. There's definitely a pistol, but I'm sure it looks like a rifle or something.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's going to be your typical gamut of like space weapons, laser gun, laser rockets, all that kind of stuff.
I think it's like a shotgun, but we've only seen one enemy, so this might be a quite isolated experience.
Yeah,
which could be cool.
The vibes seem really good. Everyone's in the comment sections and stuff on social media seems great with it. A lot of them saying like it looks like they were making an Alien game, then they had the license pulled last minute.
That's what I just said. Like,
so reminds me of Colonial. Oh, was it Colonial Marines they made? Either way, they've made an Alien game before, so they've got sci-fi expertise and they've got first-person shooter expertise, which is a tick in my book. And I've got a little bit of a soft spot for Alien because I feel like we played a lot of Zombie Army, Sniper Elite during our Stadia days where we did like streaming with you, me, and Tom, and in our audience. We had a great time with it. So yeah, good on Rebellion. And I keep meaning to get back to Atomfall. There's something about Atomfall where it's basically Fallout in the UK. In the Lake District area, it looks great. It plays good from what I've heard, and it reviewed quite well. It was one of them where I just never got around to it.
You know what? Give it a few months, we might be able to do it for real.
Oh, you might be able to, yeah. So, not kind of as much as I want to do that, though. Second up on the Xbox Wire blog post, we got the official reveal trailer for Artificial Detective. This showed a stylish post-apocalyptic adventure. In the trailer, we meet a wisecracking robot detective. Kind of looks like Handsome Jack, in a way. Tasked from the Borderlands series. Tasked with the greatest case yet, finding out why humanity has disappeared. One twist in the mystery, a single human child has been left behind, and the pair must work together to solve the case and save humanity in an explosive third-person action adventure coming in 2027. Not to Game Pass this one at the time of that time talking, but I think in terms of titles, I think this was the other one that kind of perked my interest a little bit. I don't know about you.
I don't know. Nothing. It didn't really jump out at me, to be honest. It looked like just like a million other games, to be honest. I don't know. It didn't pop for me at all.
I thought it looked decent, and then it cut to the gameplay, which kind of looked like Division-esque, like very like the robot detective kind of looked like heavy, like AI. It looks like it's got a quirky bit of humor to it, though. And I don't know whether I'm just getting like the Handsome Jack vibes from the protagonist, but I can't tell if it's going to be like scary. Like it's hard to rate. Like it feels like it's leaning more into comedy, but then I don't know how that ever lands with video games.
Yeah, I'm not sure on this one. I feel like I need to see more.
There's some kind of like artificial magnet going after them in the trailer. It's like a bunch of magnetic blocks which kind of seem to be hunting the child down. So I'm guessing humanity's been killed by whatever this sentient being is. Kind of reminds me of the one from Horizon.
Last Human vibes.
Yeah, in a way. But it looks... I mean, a lot of it was pre-rendered cutscene, so it's hard to really say like what it'll look like. It's from... I'm not sure what the studio is, but I've never heard of it before. But yeah, in the gameplay, it looks like you've kind of got a bit of stealth mechanics, a couple of different weapon variations. He seems to have a little pet robot dog as well, which triggers some of the kind of like accessories to your hunting. You can get your little robot dog, hunt them down. But I'm trying to think like what... I'm trying to picture like what the wider story would look like from this.
Yeah.
But an interesting...
I feel like it's going to be an interesting introspection on the AI in general. Like
AI
replacing humans, that kind of... It feels like that kind of thing.
Was I the murderer all along?
I feel like that story's been told so many times. And it could be just a bit boring if it's not done in an interesting way.
Agreed. We also had Bluey's Happy Snaps revealed, which I'm not going to show any footage for because it'll definitely get us copyright struck. It basically looks like Pokemon Snap, but for Bluey. So any parents out there, myself included, this is one I'll definitely be getting. Where it basically pairs together parts of the Bluey universe, I guess, and you just run around and take photos of them.
Does this sum up this showcase? Probably the only game on this list that is a definite get for either of us is Bluey's Happy Snaps, and that's for your daughter.
Bluey's huge, mate. But yeah, it says, join Bluey and Bingo for a big adventure and capture all your favourite moments using Dad's special camera. Discover brand new locations from the show, snap picture-perfect poses of Australian wildlife, and get hands-on with the play for real-life activities. It's all recorded in your one-of-a-kind scrapbook featuring hundreds of collectibles to unlock. it's definitely one of those tying games. It doesn't say who makes it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Outright Games, who tend, if you remember, in the Stadia days, dabbled in like every family-friendly IP known to man.
I'm trying to see on like the final shot of the trailer.
Yeah, you think there was short somewhere in there.
The logos are
too small.
The logos are too compressed.
Oh,
I was deafening myself.
It's Game Someone. I know.
It's probably easier to Google.
It says Game Loft. But yeah, all the other sponsors are just like the TV productions like BBC and Ludo who make the show. Game Loft. I think there's a few mobile games. Moving on though, we got the news that Dispatch, did I give that my game of the year last year or not? No, it was Expedition 33, wasn't it? I think it might have came in second. The fantastic episodic superhero hit is coming to Xbox, which again blew my mind that it wasn't already on Xbox. I know it came to Switch.
That was my reaction to it.
Yeah, it's like how?
Isn't this not already out?
It happens more than we'd realise. But yeah, you play as Robert Robertson III, voiced by, of course, Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad fame. He's known as the superhero Mecha Man. He's forced to take a desk job as a dispatcher for a team of reformed villains turned superheroes after his iconic mech suit was destroyed. In a narrative-driven Telltale-esque game with a comedy twist, you'll manage a team of misfit heroes and assemble to tackle emergencies across the city, all while navigating interpersonal relationships and the turbulence of office politics. Just what everyone loves from a video game. But I think it's safe to say that this is the one that won kind of probably most people's surprise leads for last year's Game of the Year. Again, I think I went from not really knowing much about it, barely remembering anything about it, to getting the platinum and thinking like this is fantastic. Enjoyed every moment of it.
It's on my list. I think I might put this after Fallout. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, they have announced that the Xbox version isn't going to be censored because the Nintendo one had lots of like controversy around Nintendo censoring parts of the game that were like 18 plus, but then they have all them anime sexy gotcha games happily on the platform without question. So
yeah,
it's weird.
It's not getting.
It's weird. We got The Expanse: Osiris Reborn was probably one of the next bigger entries. The Expanse universe, I'm not really familiar with, but I think the TV show is quite well received. Don't know if you know anything about the Expanse universe.
I don't. Isn't it like a book series that's been?
Yeah, book first, TV, both very well revered, I believe. But yeah, in this one, this is Expanse: Osiris Reborn because we've had a previous game, I believe, in the guise of a Telltale game. In the Expanse universe that was quite good as well about 2 years ago, I want to say. There's a beta coming this April, but again, not coming until spring 2027. There was a lot of games in the showcase that were dated for 2027, which took a bit of the energy out of the whole presentation too. But this particular one is a third-person action RPG set in James S.A. Corey's iconic universe. There's your book. The power balance between Mars and the Belt is on the edge of collapse. As your custom captain, you'll gather a crew and forge your own path through a volatile solar system shattered by conflict. This is the one, I think, for me, when I was watching it, it just felt like Mass Effect. Like, it felt like modern Mass Effect.
I was getting... I get what you mean by Mass Effect, but for the combat, I was thinking Outriders.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I can see that. But then again, Outriders wasn't too far from Mass Effect either with the kind of duck and cover, switch your weapons. I think the biggest thing with this one is that sci-fi team-based narrative, and then it seemingly looks as though your decisions are going to have impact on the story, similar to like BioWare's classics. Visually, look decent. And again,
could this be a spiritual successor to Mass Effect?
I think it might. I mean, it might have to be, right? How long has it been now? I was going to say the next Mass Effect. I know it's coming, but it's one of them where it's been so long now. I keep forgetting for months of the year it even exists.
Oh, well, they brought out Dragon Age Veilguard.
Yeah, that was like 2 years ago.
That was 2025, I want to say. I'm not sure. Let's have a look. Dragon Age Veilguard was October 2024. So yeah, it's almost 2 years ago. The next is a new Mass Effect. The last game before Veilguard, ignoring the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect, was Anthem, which is 2019. Then it was Andromeda in 2027. So it's been 9 years since
2027
Mass Effect. Yeah,
Andromeda
2017.
I feel like if I went back and played Andromeda now, I'd probably enjoy it as like a standalone game. I think detached from all the drama, it's probably a perfectly competent game.
I feel like BioWare, one of them developers that are kind of a bit of a fallen giant, because I think the last undisputed great titles were like Mass Effect 3, which is 2012, and Dragon Age Inquisition in 2014.
Yeah.
Veilguard came under a lot of criticism, probably for stupid reasons.
Well, that's what I think, unfortunately. I think BioWare and to a degree Naughty Dog at the same time have fell foul of the internet seems to have it in for them. Like, I just think whatever...
But they've been consistent in their values.
That's true, that's true,
yeah. Andromeda, I feel like that's a game that the more we've removed from it, the more people remember it fondly. It just didn't live up to the hype of being the next Mass Effect game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like BioWare just not in a great place.
Well, this is it, right? Done and bust. If this next Mass Effect doesn't hit well, I think they're done.
Probably. It was announced in 2020.
I mean, they keep teasing it on like N7 Day and then teasing it, and yeah. But as someone who only played Mass Effect for the first time with the trilogy collection, I thought it was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it completely, but I was kind of like done it out. I know you got done over by bugs, didn't you?
Yeah.
Not bugs in the game, but bugs in the game. If that makes sense. Either way, we also got from the Xbox One. You should definitely recommend them. Forever Ago, which is the more of an indie game, shows Alfred on a journey to unlock memories of his life in Forever Ago, an upcoming narrative adventure. Revisit beautiful locations from Alfred's past, meet characters, and document his story with photographs in a single-player road trip that explores broken dreams, loss, regret, but with a string of courage, hope, and the power of friendship mixed throughout. This was one of those little indie games where I think as soon as I saw the art style, I was like, I can get with this. It's got that minimalistic, it's got the cozy 70s, 80s vibe. Forget about technology. You're living in like the past of like American diners and road trips, and there's an old gentleman who seemingly has lost his partner, it looks like, and he's trying to rekindle, I guess, some kind of drive in his life, so he goes on a road trip. And it's
just a kind of a nice slice of life kind of story.
Yeah, it strikes me something that the game probably is only going to last like 6 hours. It looks like you've got a little bit of exploration in like a bright colourful world. Very similar to Life is Strange vibes is what I get from it. You meet people, probably have a couple of chats back and forth.
Different
weapons.
Style and narrative. Different narrative, like entirely, but
no weapons.
Similar style of game.
No killing people. No zombies. Just a bit like, did you ever play Firewatch?
No, I didn't.
Firewatch is great. Firewatch is like a little 5-hour game where you play a forest warden. You know, like the what they're called? Fire wardens? You know, the ones who just live out in those like really high watchtowers.
Yeah.
In the forest. Fire rangers? Park ranger. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Some combination of them.
Some combination of those job descriptions, yeah. And they basically live out in the wild and just look after the park and I guess the animals and the people within. Like quite an isolated life, but it's quite cozy at the same time. This is the vibes I'm getting from Forever Ago. But yeah, looks quite interesting, looks quite fun. And coming to Game Pass, so you've got a nice little indie title dropping soon there too. Next up, we got Frog Squad. Don't really think we need to go into that one. Squad.
They spelled squad wrong, so fuck them.
They did spell squad wrong, but it looks like
it's
gang beasts, pretty much. But you all play as a bunch of frogs. You use your tongue to whip around. Pretty much like gang beasts, but with frogs. I would say a slightly lower quality art style.
I'm actually leaning more towards Human Fall Flat.
Yeah,
it looks more level based.
I think that's what I would say as well, actually.
Rather than just a straight party game like Gang Beasts.
Yeah, and it's one of them where if we played it, we would absolutely have a blast.
Oh, 100%.
Because you just run around, do daft challenges. What was the one we played on Stadia with all the cakes? Cake Bash?
Oh, Cake Bash.
Yeah, Cake Bash was fun as well. Yeah, I enjoyed that. But yeah, another one coming to Xbox Game Pass. So fill out your Frog Squad when that one comes around. Next up, I wanted to include this one because this really stood out for me. This was Grave Seasons. This is another indie game coming. They're coming this year. It's one of the few ones from the showcase coming this year. August 14, 2026. Coming to Game Pass day one. It's a Play Anywhere title as well. And this one shows a farming sim So like a cozy farming sim game, but with a terrifying twist in like a 16-bit pixelated world. Your old cellmate writes an ominous letter about the new town you just moved to, Ashenridge. While it seems warm and welcoming at first, something is amiss beneath the surface. And then the trailer basically goes on to show it goes from a cozy game into this like kind of wild horror narrative where actually the whole town succumbs to these evil threats and demons at nighttime. And I what I love is when you kind of get a genre flip of you expect like a Stardew Valley, go do your fishing, maybe plant some crops, but then there's like a different narrative, and I just love the art style
Dave
as
the
well.
Diver.
It's got that kind of like subverts expectations, and the art style looks great. There's something just about that kind of soft. Is it? Would you say 16-bit? Because I guess it's more like 3D, where they keep the jaggedy pixelated edges, but they really don't need to. But it's definitely a choice.
Yeah, it's
So your stars kind of like
it's
that
a 16-bit
vibe.
style, but it's not actually in 16-bit. It's way higher than 16-bit.
Yeah, it's way the graphic fidelity is way higher. A bit like
it looks how you remember 16-bit.
Yes, that is the best way to describe it. Yeah, but I like the horror twist. I like the demons cropping out. I like the little bits of story narrative strewn throughout. And I like the name. Grave Seasons is quite a clever name for a cozy game where you do farming through the seasons, but then shit happens at night. And speaking of shit happening at night, Richie, we also got Hades 2 was announced for Xbox. Again, another one. Didn't know Hades 2 wasn't on Xbox. Kind of expected it.
Or PlayStation. It's coming to PlayStation at the same time as well.
Oh, okay. So it's not on PlayStation.
Yeah, so it's currently out on Switch 2 and Windows and Mac.
Right, okay. Next up, we had Hunter the Reckoning Death Wish, which I think is a terribly long name for what it is. This is in the World of Darkness universe, which I think is it the Vampire Masquerades universe off the top of my head? They showed us a trailer which showed a team of hunters taking down a dangerous vampire masquerading as law enforcement. Is that the inner joke there, masquerading as law enforcement? Right off the back of Resident Evil, it made me think it's similar to that. But yeah, it shows a police officer rocking up at a murder scene. Or not murder scene, sorry, a hostage scene. And you think, oh, he's going to save the woman who's tied up on the chair. And he reports in with his radio and says... haven't found anything, no one's here, and then clicks his radio off, and then he has little vampire teeth grow out, and you're like, oh shit, I thought he was there to save her, and he's not.
If you turn up to a hostage scene, the first thing you should do is kill the hostage. Therefore, they now no longer have a hostage.
I believe it was Speed, Keanu Reeves, where the rule was to shoot the hostage, not necessarily kill the hostage. But yeah, you do you. But I feel like the Vampire Masquerade universe, or this dark world universe, that's it's alluring to.
It was a universe.
Me neither, but I feel like it's one of those. You know, a bit like, is it Friday the 13th? Like that horror universe where there is a cult following, and like the games don't sell millions, but they have like a strong foundational base that love the games, love the world, and anything loosely connected to it, they're kind of like all in for it.
They sell enough.
Yeah. Enough. What's the horror game I'm thinking of? Is it Dead by Daylight? That just seems to keep going with like DLC tie-in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Once in the blue moon would be like, oh, this person's coming to Dead by Daylight. Oh yeah, that game's still going.
Yeah, but it seems like more single player. You got a team who are going to go hunt down these vampires, but the main guy in it, I don't know if you recognise what seemingly looks like the protagonist on the cover art. He looks like, I want to say, Jesse from Detroit Become Human.
Yes, okay. I've never played Detroit Become Human.
Have you not?
I know what you mean. No.
So many games you play. So you got Dispatch on my recommendation. You've got Detroit Become Human.
Time to play them all.
I know. Neither do I.
But there again, I spend 100 hours in Fallout. So
there you go.
I don't. Yeah.
Pick and choose your battles.
Yeah.
Speaking of pick and choosing your battles, this is one that I always forget exists as a franchise. Serious Sam, Richie, is back with the Shatterverse in an explosive new shooter unveiled at the Xbox Showcase. It's the new installment. 5 alternate universe Sams work together, and save the Shatterverse from the antics of a series' godlike antagonist, Mental. The 5 Sams, all with their own unique abilities, must face off against hordes of ferocious enemies while taking advantage of a rich arsenal of powerful weapons. True to Serious Sam form, it looks like fantastic fun, according to the blog. Serious Sam, through our Stadia days, this is one that I didn't know existed, and then I learned about it, and then I played was it Serious Sam 4? Was the one we got? That was exclusive to Stadia for a time amount.
It's like a Doom clone.
Yeah.
Basically.
And it's one of those IPs where it's like, how do they keep making more games in this world? Like, again, they're not bad. They're just simple and minimalistic. And every time I see stuff like this, I'm just like, how do they... Now they're trying to do the multiverse thing. But somehow people in these dev studios keep going like, yeah, let's do another one.
I was already kind of out when I realized, okay, this is basically a hero shooter. But then there's a very quick scene in the trailer where it brings up pair cards and they look like they've been ripped straight out of Fortnite and went, nah, I'm out. I do not have any interest in this game at all. I would prefer the Serious Sam 5, just a single player, like Doom clone.
I mean,
but I get why they're doing it, and to be honest, this could be more successful. Because Serious Sam doesn't take itself seriously. That's kind of...
It doesn't.
That's kind of the like tongue-in-cheek nature of it, so it could be fun.
Yeah, it's almost like Duke Nukem comedy with Doom. And I think you're right. I think if you're going to make I don't even want to say a battle royale. If you're going to make like a hero shooter-esque multiverse game, then I guess you might as well attempt to use IP that's got some kind of fan base already. Shatterverse, I don't think is actually a bad name either.
No, that's.
I think Serious Sam's is an odd name in 2026. They could have just called it Shatterverse and had it at that.
I feel like I was going to say I might give it a pass on the art style, but then when I've looked at Serious Sam 4, Serious Sam 4's art style is way better.
Right.
Serious Sam 4 actually looks kind of like distinct. This this looks very much like a Fortnite clone. It's like, come on, developers need to move away from this art style if they want games to stand out. It just...
Well, Richie...
I know it's not for me, but if you look at any screenshots of Serious Sam, it objectively looks better, but still being like bright and colourful and vibrant.
Fair play. We got a few other little things. We got a trailer for Super Meat Boy 3D. Shows up. That's coming March 31st, so not too far away as well. And it is coming to Game Pass. It's just more Super Meat Boy, but in 3D. We got a pre-trailer for Stranger Than Heaven, which is the new game, the new franchise from RGG Studio. However, the trailer basically said come back on May 6th for a deeper dive look. So it was like, right, well, you could have just put that in here though.
I don't mind that. It's going, look, we're going to show you this, but we'll let you know about like a deep dive. I actually don't mind that approach.
Why wasn't it? Yeah, but I feel like they could have showed a little bit more at least here. And then the final one that of any note probably was Wuthering Waves. This is the story-rich action RPG built around exploration, freedom, and you awaken as Rover with no memory and join a diverse group of resonators as you search for the past. Wuthering Waves' vibrant anime-style open world becomes your playground through a sleek selection of traversal mechanics. Rover can soar, swing, slide, and speed across the areas on motorbikes to explore the vast open world and its foes at ease. This is the one that it reminds me of every other kind of...
Hoyoverse,
that's the one that's the word I was looking for, yeah. And it'll probably sell millions and millions across Asia. I'll never play it. I don't know anyone who will. You know, it looks like it though.
It looks exactly like it, but it's not by the Genshin Impact guys.
It's not.
It's by a different developer called Kuro Games. And I don't think it's a gotcha game. It actually, no, it is a gotcha game. It's a gotcha game. So I for a second there, I thought, I was like, does it just kind of look like it? Because I'm not against an anime aesthetic
same.
RPG. Yeah, like look at Tales of Rise. That was awesome. I can't wait for the next one. But... yeah, as soon as it goes gotcha, it's like, I'm okay.
I always just look at it and just think, like, I really don't know what's going on. They put the music in, they put the crazy animations in them. Like you said, I'm all for a good bit of anime from time to time, but then when I see it, I just like, where do I even start? It kind of makes me feel how I felt about Final Fantasy before I played Final Fantasy.
There is probably some amazing storytelling in this game, but I don't know where it is.
Sexy anime girls doing whatever. But that brought us to an end of the Xbox showcase. As we said at the top of the show, it was okay. Couple of nice things in there. Nothing that made me like jump forward and say like, "Oh, I can't wait to play that." I'll definitely need to see more. We might. Couple of little bits of DLC and stuff that we haven't mentioned, but yeah, go check out the blog. Pick up that as you want to. Moving back to some sad news. PlayStation, not only, Richie, have they upped the prices of hardware to pay for I believe in the blog, did they say something like quality
director bonuses?
Quality? No, they said quality gaming experiences or something. One of those experiences we're not going to get is from Dark Outlaw Games, which, if you recall, is the studio that they founded last year in 2025 with former Call of Duty lead Jason Blundell, who's famed for his work at Call of Duty's first-person shooters. And I think actually at the time, we talked about it on this very show about when he worked at Deviation Games, which also had a cancelled project with PlayStation in 2024. And I think we even theorised that he had something good enough with there that PlayStation wanted to take that and nurture it with him at the helm. Because he's known for like great stuff. He did 13 years at Activision. But according to Jason Schreier, about 50 people are being laid off. Sony's making cuts, and the PlayStation Studio, I should say, is being shut down. After, of course, we got Bluepoint shut down last month, February, March, can't really remember now. Recently, and we know the reason for Bluepoint was rising costs, slowed industry growth, changing player behaviour. But this studio seemingly barely had a chance, Richie. I think we spoke about the time maybe thinking it would be a first-person shooter, giving PlayStation an actual shooter in their library of games. Doesn't look like they have the patience to get around to that anymore.
No, they're very much like cost-cutting and like kind of pivoting direction. But the unfortunate thing of these bad business strategies is, well, lots of people losing the jobs, and a lot of potentially cool games just never seen the light of day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just sucks.
It must be really hard being the developer, and I guess a little bit goes to when we've looked at like Shannon Woodward and such, and why am I blanking on it? Amy Hennig and stuff, of like these industry veterans who've done so much good work. But they've not managed through rhyme or reason or other things that have gone on. They've not actually managed to put out a game in a decade plus, and it's these are like the stalwarts of the industry, and they can't even make it work because of like random decisions. And back to your point at the beginning of the show about kind of PlayStation and budgets and the economics of the industry, just they need to make more and more money. And we see it every year, don't we, with like Square Enix. Final Fantasy didn't meet our expectations. Tomb Raider didn't meet our expectations. Like, well, stop setting them so high.
I think part of the problem is that like the length of the development cycle keeps getting longer and longer and longer. But I also don't think the quality's improved in the last like 5 years. I feel you look at some of the kind of late PS4 games in terms of like the presentation, overall quality, and the general reception from gamers compared to a lot of the stuff that's come out in recent years. And it's like, it's taken a lot longer to make games, but they're not necessarily looking better. They're not necessarily playing better. They're not exactly always telling better stories, interesting. So it's like, there's a lot more time going into them, but where's the value proposition here? This is why I feel like every occasionally PS6 comes up, it's like, I don't want PS6. I'm not interested in PS6 in the slightest, especially if current projections are put around the £1,000 mark. Fuck that. Like, I'd rather you get PS5 right first. Like, and
you do wonder,
we've
don't you?
went through a lot of buying studios, and now they're all shutting them all down. But what that means is all these independent studios that were bought, then getting shut down, it's just hollowing out the industry.
Yeah. There's
a lot of talent. You mentioned some like absolute industry like veterans not getting projects completed. So at what point do these people just move on to different stuff? When you keep doing shit like this over and over again, new talent is very cautious about going in the industry because it seems like a shit show, and existing talent leaves the industry because they have families to feed and they want that stability in their life. So you are destroying the industry by doing this shit.
It does make you just wonder, doesn't it? Like, so PlayStation's plan with like closing Bluepoint, closing these guys down. Bungie, seemingly Marathon, is doing okay, but not like gangbuster numbers. And you wonder, in the next 5-year cycle, if we think we're in a drought at the moment, what are we going to be in for the next half decade if they've got rid of everything? They bought, like I said, they bought all these studios to put games out, and then they've not even let any of them see the light of day. And you think between Bluepoint and Bend, and now Dark Outlaw Games, and every studio in between, Naughty Dog are probably going to get one game out a decade by the looks of it. Insomniac do all right, I think we said. Saros is coming out from Housemarque. They got Returnal out. So like there's output, but for the amount of studios they had at one point, it just seems wild how they keep striving for whatever they're looking for. But then I would argue and say, well, look at Capcom. They seemingly... How many Resident Evil games have we had out since we started doing this channel? We had Village and Requiem and remakes for 3 and 4, maybe even 2 in the same cycle. And again, back to the point about Requiem at the beginning of the show, not long games, but they're designed in a clever tactical way where...
And the quality is there, so although they're shorter and fairly linear experiences, as we talked about at the start of the show, Resident Evil Requiem, it's a short game, but to put value in the post-game, how do you make this replayable? So they're being very smart about telling the story they want to tell and go, how do we get more value in there for the people who bought the game so they don't feel shortchanged? Yeah.
And they've sold 5 million copies in as many weeks.
It feels like the industry is in a massive crisis at the moment. Actually,
it seems like it, yeah.
Nintendo are fine, but Nintendo are always fine. Apart from the Wii U, that's literally the only blip on their CV when it comes to video games, in terms of major blips. Sony can't produce a bloody game. They're shutting down studios left and right. And Xbox can't figure out what is and isn't an Xbox.
They can't even figure out who their CEO is, so...
Yeah. A lot of third-party developers just can't seem to get going. Ubisoft are in full-on meltdown and have been seemingly for a while.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like,
EA are all over the place as well. Aside from like their annualized, like that, EA falls back on its sports franchises. It always has that, luckily. Yeah. But in terms of their other output, we just mentioned about BioWare and everything.
Do you remember at one point when I think it was just before we kind of started Sounds of Stadia? The worst thing about EA was kind of loot box controversy.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, loot controversy, everyone hates EA. EA nowhere near the most hated.
No.
I think in video games.
No.
They've done a lot of redemption stuff, but they also don't keep standing on bloody rakes.
Yeah. WB Games as well. They're all over the place.
WB Games. Fuck knows what's going on
again,
there.
absolute stalwarts in the industry.
WB Games. We're going to double down on what didn't work.
Yeah. Weird. And I guess a double story to the back of that, Richie, is even the most successful seemingly still have problems. Fortnite developer Epic announced this past week that they're laying off 1,000 members of staff, over 1,000, due to a downturn in engagement, it said on its blog post. In a message to staff shared publicly, Epic Games boss Tim Sweeney said the company was spending significantly more than we were making, meaning that it is now needed to make major cuts to keep the company funded. The news comes just weeks after the launch of Fortnite's highly anticipated new Battle Royale season, and 2 weeks after the company's controversially raised the price of the game's lucrative V-Bucks in-game currency, prompting a huge backlash from players. And I quote, "Today we're laying off 1,000 Epic employees." Sweeney told Epic Game employees, "I'm sorry we're here again. The downturn in Fortnite engagement that started in 2025 means we're spending significantly more than we're making," which any business that's spending more than they're making is worrying to read, full stop. Don't believe that.
I do not believe it in the slightest that Fortnite, your margins must have been so fucking small that if a bit of a downturn in your player base of the biggest game on the planet has led to like you suddenly spending more than you're making.
Yeah.
Again, this is all bad management.
Yeah. I mean, he goes on to say, "We have to make major cuts to keep the company funded. Today's layoffs are being accompanied by over $500 million of identified cost-saving measures in contracting and marketing, while the hiring of some roles will cease. Some of the challenges we're facing are industry-wide challenges," Sweeney wrote, blaming slow growth, weaker spending, and tougher cost economics. Discussing that, the last point in this more detail, he said that the current consoles were selling less than last generation. Did Switch 2 and PlayStation 5 not have like record sales across the United States of numbers? I feel like the Switch was Nintendo's fastest selling console, and PlayStation 5 just sold past the 90 mil mark nearly. But either way, we're less than last generation. Noted that games were increasingly competing for time against other forms of entertainment. And some of our challenges are unique to Epic, he concluded. Despite Fortnite remaining one of the most successful games in the world, we've had challenges delivering consistent Fortnite magic with every season. We're only in the early stages of returning to mobile. Didn't realise they'd left mobile. And optimising Fortnite, was that because the App Store fiasco with Apple and stuff?
Yeah, I think we used to cover it back in the early days.
And optimising Fortnite for the world's billions of smartphones and being the industry's vanguard, we've taken a lot of bullets in battle, which is only in the early days of paying off for ourselves and our developers. Blah, 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 it goes on.
But 1,000 people, you have a bit of a downturn in player engagement, but 1,000 people, that's no. Honestly, it's when you should go on this. Like, if you have to lay off 1,000 people, you should be the first person out the fucking door.
I mean, his half of his probably annual bonus could pay for them all.
This is your leadership that's caused this problem. Like, you've either overinflated your staffing, or you're spending too much money where you don't need to be spending money. Like, and to be honest, with Fortnite, it's not that surprising. Fortnite will have a bit of a downturn. I know they're trying to be good with like fighting the battles for the App Store revenues and stuff like that. And fair play to them for that, but I just keep coming back to this 1,000 people. That's a lot of jobs that you've just decided to cut. Like, but you've retained yourself.
Yeah, I mean, he goes on to talk about, like, the company's had to restructure itself even since, like, the 90s with 2D, 3D Unreal Engine, building console games like Gears of War, Fortnite's launch, and other big companies. He does address AI and says it's got nothing to do with AI. They're not AI-related. But
I had a chuckle at the start when you mentioned, like, the V-Bucks thing. It's like, oh, yeah, our player base is down. Let's piss off the ones we have left by increasing V-Bucks.
I mean, Epic's like got its own storefront now, right? So surely they're making money from that. It's got its own Unreal Engine's Epic, right?
Unreal is
so surely they make money off every single game that uses Unreal for like royalties or something. It just like you said, it baffles me that companies that have so many successful avenues struggle.
It's not that surprising that Fortnite itself would make a downturn, because a lot of the kids who have been growing up playing Fortnite might be moving on from it.
Yeah.
Because let's be fair,
we've always suspected the bubble would burst at some point.
Yeah. The Battle Royale took off 9 years ago. So
those 10-year-olds are 20. They've got jobs and families and they're married, some of them, and everything else.
And the 13-year-olds are now professional people.
Well, some of them are.
Yeah. Yeah, but you mean they've probably went through that. Oh, I'm playing on my lunch break with my friends in school, and now have graduated and got themselves a job, and they've probably moved on from Fortnite.
Yeah.
So it's not that surprising that there's a bit of a downturn, especially when you lose the mobile storefront. So that makes it harder to play in mobile. Not impossible, but harder.
Yeah.
But ultimately, with stuff like this, I think it always just comes back down to bad management. You have made many bad decisions to get to the point where you've got to lay off 1,000 people, and you don't have the decency to step down.
No, he'll keep making his millions. Have you seen Tim Sweeney's The Guy in America, which I actually don't mind? He's buying like millions of dollars worth of land up across the Midwestern belt, I think it is, of the United States, purely for conservation reasons. So he buys the land so that people can't convert, which is like, great, giving back to the planet and stuff, but maybe protect your people a little bit better in this case, like the human beings who live on the planet. But either way, last news story of the week, Richie, that I want to touch on because it's irritating me. Is Nintendo put out a blog post regarding game pricing for the Switch 2 going forward, and they stated very shortly, very short statement I should say, beginning in May and starting with pre-orders for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, new Nintendo published digital exclusives to Switch 2 will have an MSRP that is different from physical versions. Nintendo games offer the same experience whether in packaging or digital format, and this change simply reflects the different costs associated with producing and distributing each format and offers players more choice in how they can buy and play Nintendo games. As always, retail partners set their own prices for physical and digital games, and pricing for each title may vary. So basically, if you're going to buy a first-party Nintendo game physical from now on, it will definitely be more money. Usually, by the looks of some of the pricing for the Mysterious Book Yoshi game, it's probably about £10 difference.
How does it offer more choice, though?
That's what I don't get in the blog. It's like, offers them more choice. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's the same choice, just one's more expensive.
The only thing I can think of is basically where they're going to basically put almost a physical game tax out there, which will offset the specific costs associated with the physical version. Which might mean they get to continue. Some games that didn't have a physical release might, but
it's one of those
games are
they're a dying breed. They're a dying breed. It's like I think Nintendo's the biggest outlier where I think theirs is about 50-50 split. But I do think with the Switch 2, game cards, man. There's like nothing. Like all the big games I see on the marketplace now, it says that little black strip on the front cover that says game key card. And I do fear my Switch 2 is probably gonna force me to go all digital, which is what they want. But then it still it still goes back to in my own mind. I'm like, if one day I want to hand my Switch over to my daughter for whatever reason, I'm dead, or maybe I just want to pass it over.
I think we're way further down the road of being digital only than people realise. Although you can still go into a shop and buy a physical version of a game, or buy off Amazon or online retailers, etc. That game will require a day one patch.
Yeah. For the most part.
And often will require online verification. If the developer shuts down the services, pulls that stuff, says, I don't know, Nintendo just go, we're discontinuing support for Super Mario Kart 8, for example.
Yeah.
And then you've got a physical version. You won't get the day one patch. You might not be able to download the DLC anymore if they remove that, which typically hasn't happened on single player games, but also could happen.
Yeah.
So this is just another thing where I think Nintendo are going to standardize physical games to be more expensive, which actually physical games are often cheaper if you wait because Amazon like to get them out of the warehouse.
Yeah, that's like again, it's kind of like strangling that secondhand market, isn't it? That you don't really make any profit on a second. Like if I sold Crimson Desert tomorrow, I paid £50 for it. Actually, I saw it on Amazon for $64.99 because it's out of stock everywhere because it's been so popular. So I could actually probably turn a profit if I sold it quickly enough. But part of me wants it in my collection. And that's the problem with being a collector of media. But it just, I get it. I get we're in the minority now. I know the generation's coming through. Just like they've had the Netflix, they've got the TV digitized thanks for Netflix for years now. The music's been digitalized since we were teenagers. And it's just, it's such a shame.
Must be kicking themselves right now.
Well, for not getting on all of this.
If they'd held on with Stadia, as physical media is getting phased out, all the problems PlayStation are having, all the problems Xbox are having, like with the price increases of consoles, Google like, no price increase, here's a Chromecast.
Or even just your smart TV already does it.
Yeah, like, you want to play Resident Evil Requiem? Guess what? All you need is a TV and a controller.
Crazy, isn't it? Just how far we've came. But
Amazon should really up the game with Luna at the moment because GeForce Now is taking probably a kicking because of all the Nvidia shite that's going on. Because they are tangentially related to it. Amazon have an opportunity here.
I mean, they're the only ones still sticking. I mean, obviously there's loads of cloud variations, but when you look at it, like what can you do to really shake it up? And when people are asking about price all the time, just keep at it, and that's what we said all along, right?
Massive marketing campaign. Amazon, you need to get ultimately Amazon Luna needs to get the games in. You need to get It's the same problem Stadia has. You need to get the big third party titles day and date, and then you can Then you go if you're constantly banging that drum, all the big third party titles, we're getting day and date. Also, you don't need to buy a console. There's an enticing proposition there.
I mean, we had it, didn't we? We had it and we knew about it and we let it go. And
I mean, the difficulty was always getting them games in the door, though.
Yeah. It makes you kind of wonder, like, with Valve doing the Steam machine, it's like, if there was a way they could stream your Steam library, in some kind
Isn't
of
that already a thing? It's like a Steam link or something.
I mean, possibly. Just
Chat, let us know. Let us know in the comments on that one. There, I can't be bothered to research it. I'm sure there's like a Steam link or something where you could stream.
I mean, ultimately, you could do it through GeForce Now and stuff, right? You just have the browser and the game and stuff there. But it just goes back to showing that we were right when we said Google just needed to stick it out, sink the cost, because you spend billions and billions on jack shit, stupid things anyway. Commit to this, outlast the rest of them, do the games, and just, enjoy it. But that does bring us to an end on this week's episode of the Gamer Guild Podcast. We're up to episode 137, Richie, so we're actually creeping up on more Gamer Guild Podcast episodes than Sounds of Stadia episodes, actually, in a full circle way. We did, 161 SOS?
Yeah.
So 137 Gamer Guild Podcast. We're catching it up. We're catching it up, and then we'll have done more than you ever know. But thank you, everyone, for your continued support, as per usual. It's great to talk the news with you, and thank you for all your comments down below. As a final ask, if you've made it this long in the show, do drop a comment. It does help out with the algorithm. Do click hype if you're watching on the YouTube app. You can hype the video, which helps push it up the algorithm ladder. That always helps, of course, watching along, sharing with your friends, colleagues, tagging, doing all that stuff. We really, really appreciate that. And of course, if you want to support us that a little bit further, you can do so by clicking join below from as little as 99p or £1.99. If you want to be a shiny individual out there, support us and get early access to Resident Evil, other videos, retro playthroughs, PlayStation Retro Hunt. I still think the episode that's available now for members is the Blade episode. That's right. The Wesley Snipes tie-in movie Blade is still exclusive for members. But Richie, we can't go until we've talked about this day in video game history. You thought I'd forgot it, but I remembered at the last minute. We're recording this on March 27th, 2026. What games jump out for you in this day in video game history?
Not a game, but the Nintendo 3DS. I absolutely loved my 3DS. It was awesome.
The Nintendo 3DS.
I never had original DS, so the 3DS was my return actually to handheld gaming. Actually,
handheld gaming.
Handheld gaming. Hold my hand.
Hold
please.
My hand while I play this game.
Handheld gaming.
Yeah.
So I had a Game Boy, and then I had a Game Boy Color, and after that I skipped the Game Boy Advance generation. I didn't have any of the PlayStation offerings. I didn't have a DS, so the 3DS was kind of my return to it. And oddly enough, things like Ocarina of Time were some of the games that got me back in the door.
There you go, full circle moment for the episode. I think that makes sense.
I think it was Link Between Worlds. Yeah, the game I told you that was a kind of pseudo remake of Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Link Between Worlds. I bought I got the 3DS version, like N64 3DS special edition version of that.
Right. Oh, it's not too bad at all.
Yeah.
Other titles, I don't know. Pointing up behind. I thought you were pointing off screen there. I was like, people can't see that. That's not how cameras work, Richie.
Yeah, it's behind my head next to my N64.
Interesting. 34 years ago in Japan, don't think it's BBC related, but Top Gear came out on the Super Nintendo. I don't think that's quite the Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond trio that had success. I will say, though, 15 years ago, 2011, Nintendogs came out as a launch product for the Nintendo 3DS, and
took over the world.
My sister absolutely adored that game. And you know what? When I stole it from her occasionally, I did as well. Feed the dog. Remember Pets 3D on the PC as well, where you would spray your animals to keep them, and you'd get basically the same concept, but it was on PC before Nintendo picked it up. That was an interesting one. Any others from around this time? Looking ahead a few days.
March 28th, Risk of Rain 2. I just want to check if that's still one of the highest performing videos on our channel.
Ooh.
Because it was for a long time, I think, wasn't it?
24 years ago, 2002, Kingdom Hearts, the original, came to the PlayStation 2. That's quite a good one. God, Risk of Rain 7 years ago. That's how long it is.
Wasn't it Tom played it?
Yeah, Tom played it. I mean, we all played it. I think Tom played it and then we all did.
Yeah, and 5 years ago, 3.8 thousand.
And I think that's...
We've definitely got some videos that eclipse that, actually. At the moment, Ocarina of Time Part 1. Nice, 29,000 views.
What a time ago. Check out Ocarina. And then the final one I'll leave you all with, very timely, is on March 30th. So skipping ahead, well, I guess to the day this video goes live. 30 years ago in 1996, Resident Evil came out on the PlayStation 1 and other platforms. And if you want some Resident Evil action, you've got Requiem playthrough up on the channel. You've got the PlayStation Retro Hunt of Resident Evil. You've got all of our conversation in every week on the podcast. Village, Biohazard, everything else in between. But that's it for this week's show. Thank you very much for supporting us. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, everyone, play wherever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.
Bye.